All right, y'all, I don't know if you heard a loud noise, FUD, maybe a rabble-rousing from the distance early this morning, but you weren't hearing things. That was actually the Magic community being upset about a thing. But let's be real, gamers as a whole, we like to complain. I mean, other communities have it just as bad or worse. So I'm looking at you, League of Legends. I have a story about that at another time if y'all want to hear that. But today, Wizards of the Coast basically put out a big announcement about their 30th anniversary stuff, if you will, how they're going to round out the year and some products upcoming. And there was some neat stuff, but there was one particular thing that got people all riled up. So let's get into this announcement and see what got people all upset. Okay, now I want to quickly just go through we'll call them lesser items, though they actually are important. They're not the news that everybody's upset about, but I figured we might as well cover it all because it was all part of the same thing this morning and figured makes sense for y'all to at least know if you don't know. So going through this real quick, they did talk about the upcoming anniversary and play promos, as they call them, and these are for the different sets, for pre-releases and whatnot. You can see here, they actually have some pretty good cards in this, to be honest. Like the alternate art Sarah with the old frame is pretty cool. Finhorn Elves and Ball Lightning I'm not so excited about because we've had them printed a couple of times. Same thing with Wood Elves is not so exciting. Wall of Roots was actually an F&M promo once upon a time, if I'm not mistaken. But then you have stuff like Retainers and Windfall that are going to be very popular, that I think people are going to be super excited about, and probably come out to events to try to get those, so that's actually pretty cool. Core Haven's pretty sweet. I can't remember the name of this, but this destroys a non-land permanent, I believe, from a couple sets ago. That's actually pretty cool. Exalted Angel, super neato card. I think people would really like this in this frame. Temple of False God, not as exciting, but still popular for some decks, so I think people like that. Also, these are actually pretty cool. I think all of these, the Niv Mizzet's really cool in the old frame. Why Termagoyf just got the exact same treatment, I don't really understand. I figured they would have done something cool. Like a Goyf with a different frame would have been kind of neat. So this one's the one that stands out as just like, why this? It doesn't make a lot of sense, but hey, whatever. It's a Termagoyf. Though Termagoyfs now I think are like $20 or something. So you know how the mighty have fallen. Acidic Slime, Terastodon, We've seen these kind of recently, not so exciting. The Hornet's kind of cool. The Harvester of Souls, meh. The Hydra's neat. Goblin Rabblemaster's cool. So lots of neat promos basically going through all this. But these are basically for the upcoming sets. These here are going to be for Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So they're basically just putting out like the whole year of promos. And then Codename Polo, we don't know what the following set name is yet. They give them internal names right now. They're going through a series of, I believe, sports names. So Polo is this one. Anyway, but the Veto is actually pretty cool. I think people would like that one, so that's actually kind of sweet. I guess technically there's two Vetoes, just a different type of Veto. Dovin's Veto and the Person Veto. And then, of course, Deadly Dispute by then will be well over a year, 2 years old or so. So even with the reprint, so that's kind of neat. But yeah, and then they have some other stuff for the Pro Tour Championship. I guess we'll call them the Regional Championship Qualifiers, to be more specific. And these are actually pretty cool. A Mystic Dispute, a Thing in the Ice, Snapcaster Mage, all pretty popular cards. Nothing wrong with that. Brothers World previews. I had these flipped around because I was looking at them. But yeah, if you want to see them, there you go. There's a Mishra, claimed by Gix, and a Phyrexian Dragon Engine. This drains your opponent for attackers whenever you attack. If you own this thing, then they flip and they combine, or meld as it's called. This actually has an ability for Unearth, so it can come back into play. When it does, you can discard your hand and draw 3. It has Double Strike, which is pretty cool for a 3-mana colorless thing. So it's pretty nifty. And then they turn into this big monster, Mishra Lost to Phyrexia. And it has like a billion abilities, and you get to pick 3 when it comes into play. Actually, when it enters into play, or attacks, I should say. So yeah, pretty cool card. How often you'll meld it? Probably not often, based on what we used to know from the other ones, but who knows. They did give us dates for the other stuff coming up as well, for the Brothers War story, for the world building panel, the debut video. So all the stuff around Brothers War are here. We will have Arena Online release on November 15th. So if you're looking for that, that'll be a thing, which also means likely around the 12th, I think would be that Tuesday, maybe the 13th. You'll get the Arena preview, whatever we call it now, early access. So that should be happening in that window as well. And Dominaria Remastered is coming. Pretty much a bunch of cards, from the way they make it sound, that were debuted on some area of Dominaria. So I don't know if that specifically means Dominaria sets or not, but there is a cool alternate counterspell as a promo, and then they just showed you some cards from it. So Birds of Paradise, Jester's Cap. Kind of cool that you can get some of them in the old frame, new frame, and alternate art. So they come a couple different treatments. Time Stretch. Tatiova, which was in the previous Dominaria, and I had that as a card spotlight card just a couple days ago, which is pretty cool. And you get an old promo of that, and Sneak Attack is in there. So yeah, these are going to come, and Sword Splashers. So they're going to come from a lot of different sets. And I think this will actually be a pretty cool product. I think people like it. Will it be as popular as Time Spiral Remastered? I don't know, but it kind of depends on the card selection, because this could actually be pretty strong. And then Shadows over Innistrad Remastered coming out for Arena. 30th anniversary, what they call countdown kits. This is going to be, this says it's a set of 30 boosters with stylized wrappers that mark their year, one for each year. I believe this is going to be the way, this is on Secret Lair, yeah, Secret Lair 30th anniversary countdown kit. So yeah, just a big secret lair with a pile of things. Cool cards, all different treatments, all different sets. These are pretty cool though. Shark Typhoon, Necropotence, Chromox, Birthing Pod, and Elspeth Sun's Champion with some pretty crazy art here, which is actually pretty neat. I think that's Rebecca Guay art, which is pretty neat. And then a Nicol Bolas, Bloodbraid Elf. And let's see, if you'd like to see the other 23 cards over at Magic Secret Lair on October 24th, so 20 days from now. And it'll be 150 bucks. That's actually, now, I will say this, 150 bucks sounds like a lot. But when you're talking about 30 cards, assuming, because there's always going to be some in there that aren't that playable. So let's say of the 30, let's be generous and say 20 to 22 of them are actually viable. Like considering the quality that they're showing us here, right? If that's the case, $150 ain't that bad. If you're talking about 20 plus cards that are actually viable, that will either play in tournament decks or play in popular commander decks, this could be a pretty good bundle. Because this could end up being a pretty sizable chunk of cards. Because at that point, I mean, what do you need the average card to be? Like $5? You know, like $8 to get your money? I think that's doable. Plus, we've seen pretty much Secret Lairs as a whole. Over time, all of them, practically all of them, not all of them, but practically all of them have gone up in value. So that'll probably be a pretty good pickup. But we do need to wait and see what the selection is. Because if realistically, of these 7, you know, if these make up half of the playable cards in there, then it's not going to be that exciting. And then 30th anniversary edition, this is what we're going to talk about. This this is the thing. This has people in a tizzy. So let's look at the details. They did a whole separate announcement page for this, so it told you it was going to be a big deal because it's just completely different. So they say they wanted to go big. And they did 30th anniversary edition. So as you can see here, this is the card back for the 30th anniversary. And if you know anything about like collector's edition from years ago, basically was a regular Magic card back, but it just had a bar that said collector's edition or international edition, depending on which ones you had. So you knew it wasn't legal. They've just gone a step further and just made a cool stylized picture here. And this is a picture they've used before. This Lotus variant has been on card sleeves and other things in the past as well. Now you are going to be able to get different styles of this Lotus. It comes in old border, comes in new border, or what they call retro frame and modern frame. So they'll be inserted randomly at different times. These are all lists of cards, different things you can get. Obviously, Shivan Dragon, Line of War Elves, Lightning Bolt, kind of the basic card you expect to get. So this says it features original art that inspired the generations of Magic fans. 30th anniversary is built with the modern sensibilities and nostalgic roots. On sale for the holidays, available November 28th for $999. We're going to talk about that on 30th.edition.wizards.com. So you have to go to a special website to order it. Likely it's going to be short printed, so I'd expect it's going to sell out, even at that price. Yes, I do. I know $1,000 is a lot, but I expect it's going to sell. There's the packaging. It's basically going to be 4 boosters, and each one basically built like a normal booster. They're going to have 13 cards, 1 rare, 3 uncommon, 7 commons, 2 basic lands. 1 basic land will be in the retro frame, and you'll have 1 additional retro frame card and a token, which does mean you can get double rares or power 9 or whatever in that other retro slot. The retro frame does include the basic land, well, yes, the basic lands, but also the dual lands. So you'll be able to get some cool, neat ones, which is something, I guess. Also modern wording and, you know, cleaned up the cards. So they're just going to look like current stuff, just on a different frame. But yeah, lots of cool stuff here. Hypnotic Spectre, blah, blah. So basically, like the set that you would expect, and yes, the Power 9's included. They did remove some cards from there. So all the anti-cards, Contract from Below, Dark Pact, Demonic Attorney, Earthbind, Weakness is not included, nor is Crusade. And Earthbind also made the list. People are asking, why is Earthbind on the list? Let's just call it overly sexual content and no longer the direction that Wizards chooses to go. So they're not going to reprint that card. Honestly, I mean, I don't know. It's a thing. It's mostly fine, but I get it. I don't fault them for it. You're trying to be consistent. So away it goes. They've made some changes to other cards, to flavor text, so some of that's updated. But yeah, 4 packs, take a gamble, $1,000. That's what we're going to talk about here. It's where is the value placed, right? And who is this for? Now, first thing, okay. Let me just start so y'all can just get right into the comments. People are going to roast me or whatever. But let me tell you that just like I posted on social media earlier today on Twitter, do I care that this product exists? No. Am I going to buy a lot of it? Also no. Like, the reason being is, like, I might buy one just so y'all can share in the experience of seeing one opened. I would do that. But you're talking about it, 4 packs for $1,000. Each pack's $250. There's a couple of things at play here, though. One, we've had something similar to this previously, which was Double Masters. Now, granted, those were actually tournament legal cards, and they were $100 a booster. And we've also seen over the course of 2 years, those went up to being about $200 a booster if you found them anywhere still available, because those also sold out. So Wizards kind of has a baseline of what people are willing to pay for this type of product. Also knowing that people want proxies and stuff for some of these older old school formats and stuff, they want to get original artwork on these things. And one of the ways to do that is to actually own these proxy cards. Now, how much are they going to be worth? Who the hell knows? They'll probably be worth a bunch. Honestly, I would expect this to sell out, price to peak somewhere a month or two down the line, probably drop about 20 to 30%, and then you'll just see it slowly steady climb for the next like 4 or 5 years. That's probably what's going to happen to this type of product. So is it a good long-term investment? Like, probably. But that's kind of not really the point. Anything that's limited for Magic tends to be somewhat valuable these days, and that's not really a surprise. When we take a look at just who's going to buy it, the truth is there's people that are going to. I mean, we've talked about it on my podcast before, which, by the way, Color of Magic, you should check it out. We talk about all types of stuff around Magic and gaming that isn't just about the cards at the table. It's one of those things where if you buy collectibles from other things that aren't Magic, there are literally boosters that they sell at sports card places that are basically like a box is a booster, and people will pay like $1,000 for that, for a chance at, like, I don't know, like Babe Ruth's uniform cut up into a card or something. We just don't have that in Magic yet. Now we kind of do. So I don't have a problem with it existing. It doesn't really affect much else. These are all cards that already exist. And let's treat it a different way. Those of you that dislike it and are complaining, I'm going to try to word this in a way that's at least offensive to people. If this had been $200 a pack, would you have bought one? Probably not. But people are still buying other stuff at that price. If this was even $500 for a collector's set or a collector's edition, would you have bought it? Some number of you are going to say yes to that, and that seems like a fair price to you. A bunch of people would still say no. So ultimately, with these being non-tournament legal versions of the cards. Oh, and don't forget, if you think Magic players won't play for non-tournament legal cards, they actually will pay for them. We recently had some Magic variants printed in Duel Masters, which is only really available in Japan now. They had their anniversary set and just put some cool Magic variants in there because they're owned by Wizards of the Coast. And those Lotuses and Jaces were actually highly sought after, to the point that people actually went out of their way to buy that product to try to open some, even beyond just getting the singles. You would just be using them as proxies. Some of you already proxy. Hell, there's 10 or 12 quality proxy creators out there. This isn't going to stop you from using those. If you use proxies, you're going to continue to use proxies. If you don't, you're going to continue not. So the existence of this product genuinely doesn't matter to a lot of us. I mean, let's be honest, it just doesn't. Like, you can be mad about it, but would you really have bought something like this in some other iteration that just wasn't dirt cheap? The answer is no. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. The answer is no. This product existing changes nothing. Like, seriously, think about it. When Double Masters came out, we heard a lot of the same stuff. I can't believe Wizards doing this. Nobody's going to buy this. This is crazy too much for a thing. Like, you still have trouble finding them anywhere now, even at the increased prices since release. But in that amount of time, Wizards still release cards. We still bought things. People still go to retail stores. I'm still making videos on YouTube. Like, nothing's changed because that exists, and nothing's going to change because these exist. And the fact that they will put it out and people will buy it is good for them. And in reality, maybe this is the beginning of opening the door so other things can be reprinted. And things that are on the reserve list can have some version available if you just want an actual official Wizards of the Coast one. And speaking of which, does this really break the reserve list? Like, not particularly. Like, everybody's saying, oh, Wizards just throwing the reserve list out the window. Well, not really. We kind of already had the collector's edition, which is sort of the same thing. Basically, not making the exact same version in a tournament legal format style card is basically what it is. And technically, this is still in that spirit because as of now, these are not tournament legal versions. And they do look different, so I think this is still fine. Now, does it mean we get other things in the future? Maybe, but as it stands, who knows? Maybe, I don't know, down the road, we open up the doors to any official Wizards card that's been printed as tournament legal or something. I don't know. I mean, that probably gets into a problem with their whole reserve list thing, so maybe not, but it's a thought, right? I'm just saying, there's other things that can come because these efforts exist. Again, if the whales want to buy them and you've got disposable income and you want to pick it up, go for it. There's nothing stopping you. And why shouldn't Wizards get that money? Now, I get the idea of people saying, but I wanted a cool 30th anniversary thing and yada yada. Well, you know, the Dominaria Remastered actually looks pretty damn sweet, and there's going to be some cool stuff in that. And they are releasing some sweet promos over the next few sets. So it's not like this 30th year of Magic isn't going to have cool things that are affordable that you and I can buy. So I guess what I would like to see in the comments, out of curiosity, is if you are upset about this, one, what type of price point or product would it have needed to be for you to be okay with it? And two, if you use proxies, is there a type of product this would have created to get you away from using proxies? And I don't know if either of those are possible. And if so, then I'm not really sure what the complaints are. But again, to reiterate my point, am I going to buy a lot of this? No. The price point doesn't make a lot of sense for me for what it is. And I don't even play proxies, really. I don't play any vintage old school tournaments where I would use those. So it's just not a thing for me. But do I care that it exists? Also no. So yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's fine if they want it to be a thing. Remember, we also have Magic 30 coming up, the big event in Vegas, and the most expensive of tickets that everybody thought were too high sold out in less than 48 hours. So to think that there's not money in the community and that people wouldn't spend that, it's just not right. Is some of it for the money? Absolutely. They're a company trying to make money. Doesn't surprise me at all. And if you think a corporation is anything but that, for anything you like, any fandom you have, you're just lying to yourself. That's just the world that we're in. It's part of the game we play. But again, let me know in the comments how you feel about this in general. And keep your stuff sane. I will be monitoring and moderating the comments. So if you're just getting in there just to bitch, don't. Like, if you want to have a complaint, but be constructive about it. Be useful. Otherwise, check out my other content. I have lots of fun stuff, fun arena videos, all kinds of things you can check out. Keep yourself busy. Otherwise, come by my stream. I love you guys. But come on, let's just chill sometimes.